You have two simple statements that are joined together by this word if. If you have two simple statements that is joined together by this word if, such statement is called connect. This one that you see here is known as connective. Are you get what I'm trying to say? That statement is called conditional statement. Do you understand? So we have a compound statement that is called conditional statement when we have two statements that is joined together by this word if. Now, in conditional statement, one of the statement depends on the other. Please pay attention. Listen to me. Just pay attention. You're going to understand what I'm trying to say. In this particular compound statement, we have two simple statements joined together by this word if. Now, both are connected by this word. Abi, one of the statements depends on the other. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Like, let me cite an example. Pastor preaches a lot. Pastor speak a lot. Please pay attention. Pay attention to that statement. Pastor preaches a lot. Pastor speak a lot. Let's say K stands for pastor preach a lot and L stands for pastor speak a lot. Now, if I want to write a conditional statement for that word using this word if, I'm going to have if pastor preach a lot, then pastor speak a lot. You can see now. So one statement depends on the other. You can cite as many examples. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Now, please, I want you to pay attention. You see, the statement, please, the statement that is antecedent is what we call the first statement. You understand? The first statement is the statement that the second statement depends on. It is called antecedent. Antecedent. Let me say it. Antecedent. Antecedent is this. Okay, let's use that example. K represents pastor preach. And L represents pastor speak. Okay? K represents pastor preach and L represents pastor speak. Now, or pastor talk. You can use any example. Pastor, or let's use talk, okay? For a more comprehensive one, pastor talks a lot. Now, looking at these two statements, if I want to write a conditional statement for these two statements, I'm going to have if pastor preach, then pastor talks a lot. Please pay attention. If pastor, okay, this pastor, if pastor preach, then pastor talks a lot. It means if I want to write a symbolic representation of what a logical representation of this sentence is this. K, oh, okay. K, A, you understand? This is the logical representation of this statement. You know, this statement that you see, this sign that you see here is known as the if sign. This is the statement that is used, this is the symbol that is used for conditional statement. You know, when I start the conjunction, I told you that it is this symbol for conjunction, and for disjunction, it is this symbol. For connectives, you are going to use this symbol. Do you understand? So, the meaning of this statement is that if pastor preach, you know that K represents pastor preach. If pastor preach, then pastor talks a lot. Now, I want to explain what I'm talking about the other time, which is antecedent. The antecedent of this statement is is pastor preach, and the reason is because pastor talks a lot depends on pastor preach. You understand? So pastor talks a lot is known as the consequence. You understand? The statement, you see, in compound statement, it is formed together by joining two simple statements, right? We have two statements here, pastor preach and pastor talk a lot. Now, the first statement, pastor preach, is connected by a connective known as if. And because it is if, that kind of statement is called conditional statement. Now we are looking at antecedent and consequent. The consequence of a conditional statement is that statement that depends on the other statement. Are you getting it? The statement that depends on the other statement is called consequent. Why the statement in which the other statement depends on is called the antecedent. Do you understand? Okay, so having understand what is meant by implicative or conditional statement, let us look at the truth table. Please, I want to pay attention. I want to pay attention in the truth table, especially for this implicative. Another name for conditional statement is known as implicative statement. Are you getting it? So don't be confused. Okay, now it is very important that you note that we only have a conclusion that is false. if the first statement is true and the second statement is false. Please pay attention. In drawing the truth table for a conditional statement, we only have a conclusion that is false if the first statement is true and the second statement is false. So that means that if we have a statement, if we have a compound, if we have a complete conditional statement in which the first statement is true and the second statement is true, the conclusion will be what? Will be true. The reason is because you know that I told you in conditional statement, the second statement depends on the first statement. Are you getting it? So if the first statement is true and the second statement is true, the conclusion will be what? True. For example, the previous example that I cited earlier, pastor preach, pastor speaks, or pastor talks a lot. Then I wrote it like, if pastor preach, then pastor talks a lot, or then they talk a lot. You know, if you look at that example, well, it is true. There is no way you can preach and you won't be able to communicate. I get what I'm trying to say. So that means the first statement is true, the second statement is true, the conclusion will be what? Will be true. Are you getting it? Now, another example. If the first statement is true and the second statement is false, the conclusion will be false. Okay, let's look at that example, that same example. Pastor preach, pastor talks a lot. Okay, let's say pastor preach. Yes, of course, pastor preach. Pastor doesn't talk a lot. Is that not it? That will be false. Please pay attention. Pay attention. If I want to write the force of pastor talks a lot, it will be what? Pastor doesn't talk a lot. Now, the conclusion will be what? If pastor preach, pastor doesn't talk a lot, the conclusion will be false. You understand? Because the second statement depends on the order. And the subsequent that we have here, the consequence that we have here, which is the false, it doesn't correspond to the true value of the first statement. You understand? So the conclusion will be false. Listen to the explanation again. Anytime you have a conditional statement, what is a conditional statement? A statement connected by this word, if, or by this sign. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So if you have a conditional statement whereby the first statement is false and the second statement is, the first statement is true and the second statement is false, the conclusion will be false. Do you understand? Okay, let's look at the third one. If you have a statement, listen, if you have a conditional statement whereby the first statement is false and the second is true, the conclusion will be true. And if you have a conditional statement whereby the first statement is true, the first statement is false and the second statement is false, then the conclusion will be true. So please pay attention. The reason why I'm emphasizing on this is because you are going to need you're going to need the knowledge of this to solve problem on tautology and other tautology and other concepts in logic, especially those concepts dealing with the truth table. Are you paying attention? So we only have a conclusion that is false in conditional statements whenever we have the first statement has been true and the second statement has been false. Okay, so this is the truth table for implicative or conditional statements. There are some properties that I want to emphasize on as touching this particular concept. The first property is inverse. The second is converse, and the third is contrapositive. You understand? Contrapositive. I'm going to come back to these three properties at the end of this class. Okay, now, so this is the truth table for implicative or conditional statement. The truth table for conjunction is this, for disjunction is this, for implicative is this. And another important connectives that we are going to talk about in this class is biconditional. Okay, biconditional, or biimplicative. Biconditional. You see, the sign that is used to denote a biconditional statement is this, and I'm going to explain. Just pay attention. Okay, the sign that is used to denote biconditional statement is this. Now, in biconditional statement, we have two simple statements that are connected by if, but we have two if. Listen to me. You know, in the conditional statement, we have only one if, right? But in this one, we have two if. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? I'm going to explain. You see, in biconditional statement, both statements depends on each other. Are you getting it? Listen to the explanation again. Both statements depend on each other. For example, listen. A typical example of biconditional statement is this. John speak English fluently. Are you getting it? And another statement is John was born and raised in England. John speak English fluently and John was born and raised in England. Pay attention. Let K represent John speak English fluently. FU. And let L represent John was born and raised in England. Okay, if I want to write a biconditional statement for this, I'm going to have K biconditional. This is the sign for biconditional, don't forget. And the meaning of this is that if John, listen, okay, John speak English, if and only, you see, please pay attention, if and only if John was born and raised in England. You can see? So that is biconditional statement for you. John speak English fluently. John was born and raised in England. Another statement. Then we have K biconditional hell will be what? John speak English fluently. Oh, sorry, let me put this fluently. John speak English fluently if and only if John was born and raised in England. Do you understand? So if and only if that you see here is a biconditional. You understand? If and only if. Are you getting it now? So when we have a biconditional statement, we have two statements depending on each other. Are you getting it? None of them, both of them are dependent on each other. A typical example is what you have on the board. Okay, John speak English fluently. John was born and raised in England. Okay, so now let us look at the truth table for a biconditional statement. Listen to me carefully. I want you to pay attention here. In a biconditional statement, we only have a conclusion that is true if both statements are true or false. Listen to me. You know, we are dealing with biconditional statement, and we said that both of the statements depend on each other, right? We only have a conclusion that is true if both statements are true or false. If one of the statements is true or false, we cannot have a conclusion that is true. We are going to have a conclusion that is false. Do you understand? You see, when I start implicative or conditional statement, we only have a conclusion that is false if the second statement is false. A typical example. Now in biconditional statement, we only have a conclusion that is true if both statements are true or both statements are false. We are going to have a conclusion that is true. But if one of the statements is false or true, that means the conclusion will be false. Okay, so let us draw the truth table for a biconditional statement. I want you to pay attention. Okay, so let's consider this one that we have on the board. Let us complete the table for this. Okay, let's draw the table for biconditional statements. So I'm going to use this table to explain how the truth table for biconditional statement look like. So I'm going to use this table to explain how the table, please pay attention, okay? But let me redo it. I'm going to use this table to explain how the truth table for a biconditional statement look like, okay? So I told you that we only have a conclusion that is true if both statements are true or false, okay? Let's go. For this, I'm going to have, if both statements are true, I'm going to have true here. If one of the statements is false and the other is true, if one of the statements is false and the other is true, we're going to have a conclusion that is false. Do you understand? Please pay attention. If one of the statements is true and the other is false, like if the first statement is true and the other is false, we're going to have a conclusion that is false. Do you understand? And if both statements are false, we're going to have a conclusion that is true. So you can see the truth table for the biconditional statement, okay? In conjunction, please pay attention. I want to summarize what we've learned so far. In conjunction, this is the truth table. we have a conclusion that is false if both statement is false. In disjunction, this is the truth table. These are the truth table because we can have inclusive disjunction and exclusive disjunction as explained to you earlier. So this is the truth table for inclusive disjunction. We only have a conclusion that is false if both statement is false. And for exclusive disjunction, we only have a conclusion that is false if both statements are true or both statements are false. We can only have a conclusion that is true if one of the statements is false and the other being true. Do you understand? Okay, in conditional statement or implicative, we only have a conclusion that is false if the first statement is true and the second statement is false. I get what I'm trying to say. Why? But the rest will be true. Do you understand? And in biconditional, we only have a conclusion that is true if both statements are true or both statements are false. Do you understand? So that is the truth table for conjunction, disjunction, implicative, and biconditional. In our next class, I'm going to explain these properties of implicative statement. Okay, and we are going to talk about tautology and other aspects of logic. We're going to look at many examples. Okay, so don't make sure that you don't miss the next class. And before you go, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so that will be all for this class. If you have any question as regarding what we learned here, let me know in the comment section. Okay, see you in the next class. To watch the complete class, kindly click on the link in the description of this video or the comment section. Okay, see you in the next class.